Hello everybody, welcome to the best station. We're talking about nozzles and filters on this station. I'm Sean Loakes, Technical Manager for UK and Ireland, and this is Alan Cochran.
Hi there.
And we're going to talk to you about the really important reasons behind these two subject areas and what it's going to do. So we've talked already about getting the nematodes to survive as best we can. Now there's some really important things here that if we get them wrong, we're reducing that survivability. So not as many nematodes are getting into the soil. So the more we can optimize these factors, the better amount of nematodes we're going to get into the soil, and the better control we're going to get of our issues. So we'll talk about filters first. So Alan, why is it really important to have filters in generally?
So last year we tested the nematodes through the spray lab over in application lab that we have here at Chellettsill, and actually what you find is the longer the nematodes stay in the spray tank, the longer they go through the pump, and the smaller the nozzle size, the more nematodes die in the spraying process. So to deliver them to the target, to deliver them to the turf, you need to be as gentle as you possibly can with the nematodes.
Yeah. So there's a study they did, Alan alluded to last year, so we've got this really nice graphic here to show. So where we've got the filters staying in, those nematodes are going through those filters again and again and again. And we need tank agitation, so that's not something we would want to turn off. We want it agitated to keep those nematodes healthy and oxygenated. But if we keep the filters in, you can see we're doing damage to them again and again. And as the tank gets lower down, you're also saying there's damage there.
Yeah, so the more the tank level goes down, the higher the shear forces that the nematodes that are still in the tank are experiencing, and the less likely they are to survive that process.
So you can kind of see on this graphic what we're talking about. So you've got the nematodes, and in terms of how wide they are, they're actually thin enough to go through a filter. But obviously when we're talking about going through the tank multiple times, if they hit that bit of metal sideways on, you can shear them and you can do damage to them like that. So they're about the size of this piece of wire we've got here, this 0.8mm wire.
So it's relatively small in size, and it will pass through maybe one of the 08 larger nozzles quite easily. But again, that's what we want to try and do is select the right nozzle, and maybe remove the filters is a good start to actually help with the survival rate of the nematodes.
So yeah, what our advice is for filters is really simple. Remove all your filters except for your basket filter. So basket filter, we'll look at the filters now, but basket filter, that really big one at the top, we want to keep that in. So when you're pouring in your nematode solution, you want to keep that one in, but all the other filters want to come out. So that's your inline filters and your nozzle filters. So if we go through those next, we'll have a look at where all the filters are. They'll be different on different sprayers, and it's important to know your sprayer, but you should know where all your filters are because you want to clean them regularly as well as part of the calibration.
Yeah, and obviously, for conventional spraying and conventional chemistry, you want to make sure those nozzle filters and tank filters are all back replaced to make sure that, for normal chemistry, which doesn't, maybe a little bit less susceptible to this type of shear, are going to protect your nozzles and your pump valves and things. So it's making sure that it's removed for the nematodes but returned for when you're using conventional chemistry.
So now we're over here at the sprayer, lent to us by John Deere. Thanks very much to them for the demonstration today. First of all, biggest filter, you can't miss it. This is the only one we want to be keeping in. So this is really big, but it's going to stop any big lumps that are in the nematode solution going into the tank and being a problem. So yeah, that one stays in.
Next, we've got two more filters. One is the pressure side. So these are the ones you need to know, maybe slightly different on each sprayer. So we can remove that one. That's a 300 mesh filter, so that one will be taken out. And then we have the suction filter, which is down here underneath the sprayer. Which is a little bit more difficult to get to on this model. So again, we want to remove that filter, store it somewhere safe for returning when you've finished using it. So then our last filtration in the system is our nozzle filters, which again you want to remove and make sure you're using as large a nozzle as possible, which we'll talk about in a second.
So we've covered filters over there, really important. Best advice for the filters is going to be to take those out before you start filling it. It's going to be a lot more simple process. You can see Alan got a bit wet there. So yeah, making sure we do that in the right way and doing it over a bonded area as well, so if we've got any product in the sprayer. But generally doing with this empty is going to be a lot better. The next really important thing to get right is going to be the nozzles. Now, it's not these ones. These are going to be the biggest nozzles you've ever seen, and that's because they're something like 200 times larger than a normal nozzle. But just to show that we've got a pre-orifice there and the orifice. So this is a purple nozzle, so these would be great for applying something, a fungicide on a green, really low speeds and really fine droplets. But again, not what we're going to want for applying these two products. We want these to be in the soil, so we're going for a white nozzle. So why do we want the white nozzle, Alan? What's that going to do for us?
So these XC nozzles we designed as a air inclusion nozzle, so low drift, and they're metered into the nozzle via this metering orifice. As you can see, and much clearer to see on these larger nozzles, the size of the metering orifice is much smaller on the fungicide application nozzle rather than the soil application nozzle. So, and also the exit orifice is also much bigger. So it's more likely the nematode's going to get through without being damaged.
Okay, so what we're looking at is the nematodes are about 0.8 mils wide. So you can use a 0.8 wide piece of wire, put that through your nozzle, and if that fits comfortably, and Alan won't like me doing this because you're not meant to use wire on nozzles, you don't want to damage the plastic orifice, but it's a good thing to be able to see, and if the nozzle comfortably takes a piece of wire, then it's a good orifice size. So again, you can see how much smaller this orifice is on the really big one. We want to be using those bigger orifices, and it's just delivering those nematodes in as friendly a way as we possibly can, so they've had the least amount of shear force. They can handle quite a lot of pressure, but we want to be applying them at a low pressure because more pressure means more shearing force. So what we're going to do next is go and look at the boom and see how we compare the two nozzle sets. We've got some red ones on there, which are really good for doing foliar applications, and we've got the white ones on there. And these are going to be the ones that are perfect for doing a soil application, so for the aceleprine application and also for the NemaTrident application, the whites are going to be the ones that are going to be really good to use. So we'll head over to the sprayer now. So we can see now the white nozzles are on. That's going to be really good getting down into that canopy. Product that we leave on the leaf isn't valuable to us. We want product that's in the soil. That's where aceleprine works best. That's where nematodes work best. So that's what we're aiming. And then if we look at the red nozzles, you can see they're giving that finer spray. That's just not what we want. So we want to be aiming always to use the white nozzles for these two products, and that's going to give us the optimum application.